When the steel wolves surrounded Michael Donovan's customized Freightliner, laughing at his limp and facial scars, they saw just another broken veteran, a man too damaged to fight back. What they missed were the reinforced cab doors, the military-grade locks on the trailer, and, most importantly, the two Belgian Malinois watching from the darkened windows, still as shadows. Mac had commanded K9 units through Fallujah and Helmand. He'd survived ambushes, IEDs, and insurgents who were deadlier than any outlaw biker. Now, as gloved fists pounded on his door, Reaper and Shadow waited for the only command that mattered. The morning sun casts long shadows across Michael Donovan's customized Freightliner as he completes his pre-trip inspection. To casual observers, he's just another disabled veteran struggling to reintegrate into civilian life. His pronounced limp and facial scars tell a story of sacrifice most prefer to acknowledge with awkward glances rather than genuine understanding. They miss the subtle reinforcements to the cab doors, the specialized antenna array, the military-grade locks securing the trailer. Most importantly, they miss the two Belgian Malinois watching from the darkened windows with unnerving stillness. "All clear, boys," Mac murmurs, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Reaper and Shadow respond with barely perceptible shifts in posture, their eyes never leaving their handler. These aren't pets, they're combat veterans. 3 tours in Fallujah and Helmand province as a Marine Force Recon K9 handler had taught Mac to recognize threats others missed. The quiet roads of America's heartland presented different dangers than Afghan mountain passes, but the principles remained the same. Observe, analyze, respond. His cargo, specialized military equipment for a research facility in Nebraska, made his truck a high-value target. But potential threats saw just another broken soldier trying to earn a living. That mistaken assumption had saved his life twice in the past year alone. Mac climbs into the cab, his movements deliberately careful around his damaged leg, a reminder of the IED that ended his military career but not his purpose. Reaper shifts slightly to make room while Shadow maintains his position by the passenger window, eyes methodically scanning the truck stop with military precision. "Status check," Mac commands softly. Both dogs perform subtle acknowledgement behaviors, training responses developed during night operations where noise meant detection and detection meant death. The bonds forged in combat zones transcended ordinary handler-dog relationships. These animals had saved his life more times than he could count. He'd done the same for them. The manifest shows a straightforward route through Iowa and into Nebraska. Mac studies it while mentally cataloging alternate paths, contingency plans, potential joke points, another habit from combat zones that civilian life hadn't erased. Reaper's ears suddenly prick forward, body tensing slightly. Mac reads the change instantly. "Contact?" he asks quietly. The dog's subtle head tilt toward the east side of the truck stop tells Mac everything he needs to know. Someone's watching. Someone Reaper considers worth tracking. Through his side mirror, Mac spots a group of motorcycles with riders wearing matching leather cuts. The bikers are positioned exactly where a surveillance team would place themselves. Good visibility of the entire lot without drawing attention. "Steel Wolves MC getting bold," he murmurs to Shadow, who has also noticed the bikers, his posture shifting to alert without being obvious. The dog's military training shows in how he maintains his position while tracking the potential threat. One biker nudges another, pointing at Mac as he reaches for his cane. Their laughter carries across the parking lot, the unmistakable mockery that has become increasingly common since Mac started this route. He ignores it, continuing his preparations, as if he's noticed nothing, but his mind is already running threat assessments. His satellite phone buzzes, a text from his contact at the shipping company. Activity increase on Midwest routes. 3 veteran drivers assaulted last week. Security Protocol Delta advised. Mac sends a brief acknowledgement while mentally reviewing. Protocol Delta, enhanced security measures, alternative routes, regular check-ins. His hand unconsciously touches the concealed compartment where his service weapon rests. "Looks like we're taking the scenic route today, boys," he tells the dogs, who watch him with the steady gaze of soldiers awaiting orders. The Belgian Malinois had been with him through the worst fighting in Helmand. What awaited them on Nebraska, backroads couldn't possibly compare, or so he thought. As Mac starts the engine, the bikers begin moving toward their motorcycles. Through his mirror, Mac reads their body language, deliberate, performative, like actors preparing for a scene they've played before. Not just random harassment, Mac assesses quietly to Reaper. Organized, targeted, systematic. This realization changes everything. Random bullies were dangerous but predictable. Organized targeting suggested something deeper, a pattern he'd need to understand and counter. Mac pulls out of the truck stop, maintaining normal driving patterns while his mind races through scenarios. The bikers follow at a distance, their formation suggesting they're filming his truck. His visible disability makes him a perfect target for those who confuse physical limitation with weakness. "Defensive posture," he tells his dogs, who respond, instantly shifting positions to maintain optimal coverage of the cab's approaches. The Belgian Malinois combat experience shows in their economy of movement. No wasted energy, no unnecessary action. The highway stretches before them, deceptively peaceful in the morning light. But Mac knows better. The game has already begun, and the players behind him have no idea they're targeting a Force Recon Marine who spent years teaching military working dogs to outsmart enemies in the world's deadliest combat zones. "They think we're prey," Mac tells his companions as they cross into open country. "Let's show them what happens when you hunt a hunter." 100 miles into his route, Mac guides his truck along Interstate 80. The vast cornfields of Iowa stretching to the horizon on either side. Reaper and Shadow maintain their vigilant silence, but their eyes track every movement outside the cab with military precision. 5 motorcycles follow at a consistent distance, not close enough to be obvious, but maintaining perfect visual contact. "They're not even trying to hide it," Mac mutters, watching through his specialized mirrors as 3 more riders appear from a rest area, integrating smoothly into the surveillance formation. The coordinated movement reminds him of Taliban scout teams in Helmand province. Multiple elements, staggered formation, constant visual contact. The roadside rest area appears around a bend, its picnic tables and visitor center offering a necessary break for his scheduled check-in. State Trooper Sarah Jenkins' unmarked vehicle sits parked beside the building, exactly where Mac's advance message had requested. Jenkins is former Army who understands the language of precise timing and positioned assets. "Regular schedule today. Mr. Donovan," Jenkins asks loudly as Mac maneuvers carefully from the cab, his damaged leg making the descent deliberately slow. She passes a coffee cup that contains a folded note beneath the lid. "Same as always," Mac responds, accepting the cup while Reaper's ears twitch toward the parking area where the bikers have stopped just out of earshot. The dog's combat training shows in his subtle alertness without obvious reaction. Once back. In his truck, Mac unfolds the note. "Steel wolves targeting veterans specifically. 3 drivers assaulted this month. Filming for social channels. New leader demon building reputation on veteran humiliation videos. Call secure." He memorizes the information before destroying the paper. Shadow watches the highway while Reaper keeps his attention on the rest area entrance. Their positioning isn't random. It's a security protocol developed during combat operations. Mac's satellite phone connects after 2 rings. "Jenkins, secure." It's Donovan. "What's the pattern on these veteran assaults?" "All former military, all with visible disabilities or PTSD triggers. They film everything, provoking reactions, then editing to make veterans look unstable. Found 1 driver hospitalized after they triggered a PTSD episode and filmed him breaking down. 2 others suffered similar humiliation." Her voice drops lower. Intel suggests Steel Wolf's new leader, Demon, was dishonorably discharged from Army infantry. He's building his reputation by targeting those he considers broken warriors. Mac processes this while watching a biker position himself near the truck, phone clearly recording as the man mockingly mimics Mac's limp. I've picked up at least 8 surveillance elements since the truck stop. They're getting bolder, Jenkins confirms. Whatever they're planning, they've specifically chosen you as their next target. A brief flash of light from a vehicle window catches Mac's eye. Someone with a professional camera lens documenting his movements. The position offers perfect surveillance of his entire interaction with Jenkins. They're documenting everything, my physical limitations, my conversation patterns, looking for weaknesses to exploit, Mac analyzes, recognizing the surveillance pattern from his military days. Can you abort the shipment? Jenkins asks. Negative. Already on their radar, switching drivers would just make someone else their target. Mac studies the terrain ahead, mentally mapping alternative routes. What's their typical escalation pattern? They start with mockery, then provocation, then physical confrontation, all filmed, all carefully edited to make the veteran look unstable. Their social channels have millions of followers who think they're just exposing stolen valor or testing if veterans are really tough. Mac ends the call as a leather-clad biker approaches his truck. The man's movements have the exaggerated swagger of someone performing for an audience, and Mac spots at least 3 phones filming from different angles. "Hey, Gimpy," the biker calls out with practiced cruelty. "How's that military service? Working out for you?" He deliberately knocks Mac's cane aside, sending it clattering to the ground. "Can't even stand up straight for your country anymore." Shadow watches the man with deadly focus, while Reaper's attention remains fixed on the other bikers. The dog's disciplined division of security responsibilities reflects years of tactical training. "Need your response, hero?" The biker continues, clearly frustrated by Mac's calm demeanor. "Or did the war make you stupid too?" He glances at the dogs dismissively. "Nice emotional support puppies. Real warriors need therapy animals now." "They're Belgian Malinois," Mac responds, watching how the man performs for his filming audience, another intelligence-gathering technique from his military days. "Former police dogs." "Of course," the biker sneers, stepping back to ensure the cameras capture Mac struggling to retrieve his cane. "Better keep them on a tight leash. Wouldn't want them getting hurt when we meet again." After the bikers leave, Mac radios his shipping contact. Confirmed targeting, implementing security protocol Delta. Inside the cab, Mac unfolds detailed maps of the region. "They're setting up for something bigger," he tells Reaper and Shadow, his fingers tracing alternative paths through remote terrain. The dogs listen with the focused attention of soldiers receiving a mission brief. "Time to disappear," Mac murmurs, starting the engine. In his rearview mirror, all 8 motorcycles begin moving in coordinated response to his departure. The game has intensified, organized harassment against combat-honed patients. But the bikers still don't understand what they're really targeting. They see a disabled veteran with emotional support animals. Mac knows better. They're hunting a Force Recon Marine with 2 combat-trained military working dogs who've survived. The deadliest battlefields on Earth. Their first mistake was targeting veterans for entertainment. Their fatal mistake will be following him into the backcountry. Mac's truck vanishes from the main highways, taking unmarked county roads that wind through Iowa's vast agricultural landscape. His GPS navigation system has been disabled. Another precaution against sophisticated tracking. Instead, he navigates by memorized landmarks and terrain features, skills honed during night operations in Afghanistan. "They're still with us," he tells Reaper, noting dust clouds on a distant ridge through his specialized side mirrors. "But they're hanging back, professional restraint, definitely organized." The truck bounces over rough terrain as Mac follows an old farm access road, using the natural tree lines to mask his vehicle's profile. Every route choice reflects combat experience. avoiding predictable paths, utilizing terrain for concealment, maintaining multiple exit options. By mid-afternoon, he reaches an unmarked turnoff, half hidden by overgrown brush. A weathered sign warns, "Private property, no trespassing." Beyond stands a collection of metal buildings that appear abandoned. To casual observers, Jake Forrester emerges from the largest structure as Mac's truck rolls to a stop. The former Marine moves with the measured precision of someone perpetually assessing his surroundings. "You brought company," Jake notes, nodding toward the distant ridgeline. "I count 9 bikes maintaining surveillance perimeter. Professional. Spacing?" Steel Wolves MC, Mac confirms, releasing Reaper and Shadow from the cab. The dogs immediately begin a coordinated perimeter check without verbal commands. They're targeting veterans specifically. Inside the reinforced barn, Jake helps Mac install additional ballistic panels while monitoring surveillance feeds from concealed cameras placed throughout the surrounding farmland. "They're targeting veterans specifically," Jake warns, tightening, mounting bolts on an armored plate. Steel Wolves has a new leader, Demon, who built his reputation humiliating disabled vets. They film everything for their social channels, getting millions of views, showing broken warriors breaking down. Mac studies satellite maps spread across a workbench, marking potential ambush points with practiced efficiency. These terrain features match patterns we saw in Helmand. Natural choke points perfect for vehicle interdiction. "Your cargo must be valuable to justify this level of operation," Jake observes, installing specialized quick-release mechanisms for the dog transport compartments. "It's not about the cargo," Mac responds, loading specialized equipment from locked cases, night vision mounts, communications jammers, and tactical harnesses for Reaper and Shadow. "It's about finding the perfect disabled veteran to humiliate. I fit their profile, visible injuries, combat scars, working a solitary route." As sunset approaches, Mac conducts an intensive training session with the dogs, running them through tactical response scenarios among the abandoned farm equipment behind Jake's compound. Reaper and Shadow move with fluid precision, responding to hand signals and whispered commands with perfect coordination. "Most people see therapy animals," Jake comments, watching as the dogs execute a complex flanking maneuver. "They have no idea what properly trained military dogs can really do." "That's our advantage," Mac responds, rewarding the dog's performance with brief affirmation. Demon might be ex-military, but he's never faced military working dogs with actual combat experience. Jake's satellite phone buzzes with encrypted messages from the veteran trucker network, former military personnel who haul sensitive cargo across the Midwest. "They've set up checkpoints at these 3 junctions," Jake reports, marking locations on Mac's map. "Mobile teams with camera gear." "And spotters here, here, and here," adds Mac, indicating ridgelines with tactical significance. They're establishing a containment grid, standard procedure for viral video ambushes they've done before. The dogs patrol the compound's perimeter, moving in synchronized patterns that maximize coverage without leaving blind spots. Their training shows in every calculated movement. These aren't pets wandering randomly, but tactical assets executing security protocols. "I've got contacts in 3 county sheriff offices," Jake says, pulling up encrypted communications. They're reporting increased gang activity. Motorcycles with professional camera equipment, editing stations at motels, social media managers working from vehicles. "This isn't just random harassment anymore. They're producing content." Mac nods, recognizing the pattern from targeted operations in combat zones. They need something spectacular to grow their channel. A disabled veteran breaking down completely would generate millions of views. By nightfall, Mac's preparations are complete. His truck has been transformed into a mobile tactical position, reinforced against physical assault, equipped with specialized countermeasures, and modified for rapid dog deployment. "Your window's closing," Jake warns, studying thermal imaging. Feeds showing motorcycle movements on distant highways. "They're tightening the net. Another day and you won't find a clean exit route," Mac checks his watch, calculating travel time against known gang patrol patterns. We move in 3 hours, darkest part of night, when their surveillance effectiveness drops by 60%. Even with these modifications, you're still one disabled veteran against a coordinated team with military experience, Jake warns. Mac runs his hand along Reaper's back, feeling the powerful muscles beneath the fur. The dog's eyes reflect calm readiness rather than anxiety. Shadow maintains his watch position by the door, body language communicating complete situational awareness. In Afghanistan, we learned that superior numbers mean nothing against superior training and tactical surprise, Mac says, his voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who has survived multiple combat tours. Demon might be former army, but he's never faced force recon with combat-experienced military working dogs. As Mac reviews his route one final time, Reaper and Shadow rest nearby, conserving energy for the coming operation. Their disciplined stillness contrasts sharply with ordinary dogs. These animals understand the preparation phase of military operations. They think they're hunting a crippled veteran for entertainment, Mac tells Jake, checking specialized. Communications gear one last time. Let's show them what happens when you chase a predator into his chosen hunting ground. Midnight transforms the Iowa countryside into a landscape of deep shadows and silver highlights under the half moon. Mac's truck moves without headlights along the abandoned farm road, guided by thermal imaging displayed on a modified dashboard screen. Reaper and Shadow sit in perfect stillness, conserving energy while maintaining situational awareness. 2 miles to the bridge crossing, Mac announces softly. The dog's ears prick forward, recognizing pre-mission briefing tones. Satellite shows 11 bikes positioned at the choke point. Professional placement. Mac reduces speed, scanning the terrain through specialized optics mounted discreetly beside standard mirrors. The ambush reveals itself in subtle signs, invisible to untrained eyes. Disturbed ground patterns, slight reflections. From metal surfaces, the unnatural stillness of positioned vehicles. Camera team on the ridge, he murmurs to Reaper, whose head turns fractionally toward the elevated position without command. 3-man team, professional equipment. They've already spotted us. The radio crackles with encrypted transmissions. From Jake's monitoring station, command vehicle just arrived at the ambush point. Black SUV with external mounted cameras. Demons on site, personally directing. Mac's mind processes terrain features, distances, angles of approach. Battlefield calculations performed countless times in combat zones. His truck slows further, creating the impression of uncertainty, encouraging the ambush team to commit fully to their position. Time to show them Fallujah rules, he tells his dogs, their attentive postures indicating complete understanding. A motorcycle suddenly appears, blocking the narrow bridge ahead, headlight blazing to blind approaching. Drivers. Armed men emerge from concealed positions, moving with the practiced coordination of performers who've done this before. Mac reduces speed, but doesn't stop, analyzing their formation through thermal imaging. 9 tangos total, he assesses, watching heat signatures moving into flanking positions. 4 with camera gear, rest with improvised weapons. A voice blares from a bullhorn. Stop your truck immediately. Get out and crawl to us, cripple. We want to see if Marines really can. Drag themselves through dirt. Mac's response is a driving maneuver perfected during convoy security operations in Iraq. A precise acceleration pattern that appears reckless but follows calculated vectors toward the weakest point in the blockade. The truck plows toward the gap between positioned motorcycles, forcing blocking teams to scatter. Glass bottles and debris hit the truck as Mac activates countermeasures. Specialized smoke canisters deploy from hidden compartments, creating a wall of visual obstruction enhanced by strobing lights calibrated to disrupt camera equipment. Reaper, Shadow, deploy pattern Charlie, Mac commands as the truck brakes. Through the initial blockade, The dogs move with machine-like precision to specialized deployment ports, reinforced openings that allow them to exit the moving vehicle according to tactical necessity. Two bikers appear on the passenger side, one swinging a chain toward the window, the other filming with a professional camera. Mac gives a short, sharp whistle command. Shadow launches through his deployment port, a shadow moving with deadly purpose. The first attacker goes down before comprehending what hit him, weapon clattering uselessly to the ground. Reaper follows. Seconds later, targeting the cameraman with textbook military precision, not a vicious animal attack, but a calculated takedown focusing on equipment and balance points. The man falls, camera smashing, disabled but not permanently injured. Mac executes a controlled stop, whistles once at a specific pitch and duration. Both dogs immediately return, moving through darkness with flawless recall despite the chaos of shouting and confusion. They re-enter the truck through specialized ports as Mac accelerates away, leaving disarray in his wake. Through his thermal display, Mac watches the ambush dissolve into disorder. Bikers scramble to retrieve damaged camera equipment, communications break down. Cohesive teams scatter into individual actors. Classic ambush failure cascade. "Contact report," he radios to Jake. 9 hostiles neutralized, 2 disabled by K9, video equipment destroyed, vehicle sustaining minimal damage, proceeding to waypoint 3. The truck disappears into the night. As Mac navigates without lights, following memorized terrain features. Behind them, the ambush site erupts with motorcycle engines, frantic communications, and the unmistakable pattern of leadership demanding explanations. Through his specialized rear optics, Mac spots a figure standing apart from the chaos, a man in tactical riding gear studying the aftermath with professional assessment rather than emotional reaction. Even at this distance, the man's military bearing is unmistakable. "Demon," Mac identifies, recognizing the former Army infantry leader from intelligence briefings. He's taking personal control now. Reaper and Shadow maintain alert postures, their training allowing them to balance between combat readiness and energy conservation. No excited panting, no unnecessary movement, just the controlled vigilance of combat veterans. This was their evaluation run, Mac tells his dogs, as the truck climbs a ridge that will mask their heat signature from pursuing forces. Now they know we're not an easy target. Now the real hunt begins. The countryside night swallows the truck, as Mac implements the next phase of his tactical plan. Behind them, Demon issues commands to his communications team, his voice carrying the cold determination of someone unaccustomed to failure. "Find that truck," the gang leader orders. "I want every available rider mobilized. No one makes fools of the steel wolves, especially not some crippled veteran with therapy dogs." The first light of dawn paints the Iowa landscape in shades of gold and purple as Mac's truck pulls into an abandoned grain storage facility 20 miles from the nearest paved road. The structure's deteriorating appearance conceals its true purpose. A safe house maintained by the Veterans Support Network for exactly these scenarios. Trooper Jenkins's unmarked vehicle approaches from the east, dust trail minimized by her careful speed control. Another sign of professional training. Reaper alerts with a subtle posture shift that Mac recognizes instantly. "Friendly," he confirms, watching the dog's muscles relax marginally while maintaining operational awareness. Shadow continues monitoring the perimeter, completing their security coverage without verbal commands. Jenkins exits her vehicle carrying a tactical briefcase. Her expression is grim as she approaches, eyes constantly scanning the surrounding terrain. "Satellite shows 14 bikes and 3 support vehicles converging on this region," she reports, following Mac into the reinforced back room of the storage facility. Demon has deployed his entire Wraiths unit. This isn't standard harassment anymore. Inside, Mac checks Reaper and Shadow for injuries while maintaining conversation. The dogs stand perfectly still during examination, military discipline rather than pet behavior. They're escalating beyond harassment videos now, he observes, confirming the dogs show no combat damage. This has become about gang reputation. Jenkins opens her briefcase, revealing surveillance photos and intelligence reports. This isn't just about veteran harassment videos anymore, she explains, spreading materials across a worn table. Your cargo contains specialized prototype equipment that the Steel Wolves have been hired to intercept. Intelligence suggests they're working with international buyers who want to reverse engineer military technology. Mac studies the intelligence materials while Reaper and Shadow patrol the perimeter. Demon was dishonorably discharged from Army infantry. He understands tactical value. These aren't random veteran targeting operations. They're using that as cover for intelligence gathering. Satellite imagery shows motorcycle groups converging from multiple directions. Communications intercepts reveal Demon has deployed his elite Wraith's unit, former military bikers specializing in high-value asset retrieval. They've established blocking positions on all major roads, Jenkins continues, marking a tactical map. Drone assets conducting search patterns. Forward observation teams on key terrain features. Military containment doctrine, Mac notes, recognizing patterns from his combat tours. But they've made a critical mistake. What's that? They still think they're hunting a disabled veteran for humiliation content, Mac answers, tracing alternative routes on the map. Not a Force Recon Marine who specialized in breaking containment grids in Afghanistan. Jenkins studies him with new appreciation. Your file mentioned special operations, but not your specialization. Tactical mobility operations with integrated K9 units. Mac explains, checking specialized equipment in concealed compartments. We developed methods to move high-value assets through enemy-controlled territory using military working dogs as counter-surveillance and security elements. The trooper's satellite phone chirps with an encrypted alert. Her expression darkens as she reads the message. They've got someone inside the shipping company, she reports. Locations, cargo manifestos, route plans, all compromised. That's how they tracked you from the beginning, Mac nods, pieces falling into place. They knew my route before I did. Pattern fits with Demon's methodology, information warfare preceding physical engagement. Through the window, Mac spots movement on a distant ridge, the glint of high magnification optics catching morning light. We've been compromised. They're triangulating our position now. Jenkins checks her weapon. Tactical response team is 90 minutes out. Too late, Mac responds, already moving to tactical preparations. Demon will have assault teams here in 20 minutes maximum. We need to move now. Outside, the first signs of the gang's approach become visible. Dust clouds from fast-moving vehicles, the distant rumble of motorcycle engines. Their response time confirms my suspicion, Mac notes, securing specialized gear to his tactical vest. This cargo contains something even more valuable than we thought. These military prototypes must be uniquely valuable, probably classified technology. If they capture those prototypes, sensitive military technology could be compromised, Jenkins realizes. Foreign buyers would have access to next-generation systems. Mac provides final checks on Reaper and Shadow's tactical harnesses. The dogs stand ready, bodies communicating complete operational awareness. Your response team won't make it, he tells Jenkins while loading his truck. But I will. Deliver this flash drive to your technical team. It contains everything I've gathered on their operation. You're still going through with the delivery against an entire biker tactical unit? Mac's eyes reflect the calm certainty of someone who has faced worse odds in deadlier places. In Afghanistan, we specialized in moving critical assets through enemy territory while being actively hunted. This is exactly what we trained for. The motorcycle sounds grow louder as Mac completes final preparations. Reaper and Shadow take their positions in the truck, their disciplined stillness conveying their understanding of the mission parameters. 16 hours to delivery point, Mac confirms, checking his watch. If these prototypes don't arrive, sensitive military technology could be compromised. Tell your people to watch for my signal. They'll know when to move on the gang's staging areas. Jenkins studies him with new understanding. You're not just delivering cargo. You're setting a trap. Mac's smile carries cold determination as he starts the engine. Demon isn't the only one who remembers his military training. Sunset paints the Nebraska border country in gold and shadow as Mac's truck navigates a narrow valley. The route follows dry creek beds and abandoned farm trails, paths that don't appear on any modern maps but were carefully selected for their tactical advantages. Mac drives without headlights, navigating by memory and terrain association. Reaper and Shadow sit in perfect stillness, their military training evident in their controlled breathing and alert posture. These aren't anxious animals, but combat professionals conserving energy before engagement. 4 hours to delivery point, Mac calculates, checking his modified navigational equipment. Demon has deployed everything now, 20 former military. Riders with tactical equipment and professional camera gear. Radio intercepts confirm the gang has established a comprehensive search grid. Bikes at strategic choke points. Surveillance teams on elevated terrain. Even unmarked drones sweeping suspected routes with infrared sensors. The first drone appears just as Mac predicted, a dark shape against the deepening purple sky. Its infrared scanner sweeps methodically across the valley floor, searching for any trace of the missing truck. Counter-surveillance protocol, Mac whispers to his dogs. Both animals press lower in their positions, understanding the command from countless night operations in Afghanistan. Mac activates specialized smoke dispensers mounted beneath his truck. The canisters release a particulate that disrupts thermal imaging while he maintains his course through memorized waypoints. The drone passes overhead, its sensors blinded to the heat signature below. They're using herding tactics, he observes, watching vehicle movement patterns through his tactical display, channeling us toward that ravine. It's exactly what his unit would have done to a high-value target in combat zones. The ravine looms ahead, a natural choke point where steep walls narrow to a passage barely wide enough for his truck. Through thermal imaging, Mac identifies the ambush formation. Motorcycles positioned to create a funnel, shooters on high ground, camera operators covering multiple angles. Classic kill box, he murmurs to Reaper. The dog's ears flick forward, recognizing the pre-engagement briefing tone. Time to show them why we were the best escape and evasion team in Helmand Province. Mac drives directly toward the ambush, his apparent vulnerability concealing precise calculation. When the biker forces spring their trap, he executes Protocol Omega, a counter-ambush technique developed for similar situations in Iraq. The truck suddenly accelerates, crashing through the first blockade while deploying specialized flashes that disorient night vision users. Gang members, momentarily blinded, fire wildly as the truck smashes through their carefully planned ambush point. Demon's voice crackles over intercepted communications. "Do not damage the cargo. Contain the driver. I want this cripple on camera." Biker forces converge from all directions, their vehicles maneuvering to box in the truck. Mac activates the final defensive countermeasures while giving Reaper and Shadow their command phrase. Hunters active. The dogs deploy through specialized hatches, moving with lethal precision through the darkness. Their military training becomes devastatingly apparent as they systematically disable tactical team members, targeting communications, gear, weapons, and camera equipment, just as they were trained to do in combat zones. Reaper takes down the communications specialist first, exactly as trained for disruption operations. The man goes down without firing a shot, his radio equipment damaged beyond immediate repair. Shadow simultaneously targets the lead cameraman, using darkness and speed to neutralize the gang's media operation. Without leadership and documentation capability, the professional biker operators begin to lose cohesion. Mac, meanwhile, engages the remaining forces with precision driving maneuvers that isolate and neutralize vehicle threats. His truck, now fully transformed into a tactical platform, demonstrates capabilities that shock the professional gang operators. His physical disability becomes irrelevant inside his specially modified cab, where combat controls allow him to execute maneuvers despite his damaged leg. Tango's fragmented, he assesses, watching heat signatures scattering in confusion. Command, structure disrupted, media operation compromised. A short, precise whistle brings both dogs back to the truck, their mission completed with military efficiency. They return through their specialized ports as Mac accelerates away, leaving chaos in his wake. Through his tactical scope, Mac spots Demon on the ridge above, directing operations with increasing frustration. The gang leader's body language reveals his rage at seeing his professional team outmaneuvered by what he thought was a vulnerable, disabled veteran. Target identified, Mac whispers to himself, memorizing Demon's position details for the final phase of his plan. The drone returns, infrared scanner sweeping desperately across the terrain. Mac activates secondary countermeasures, specialized, deflectors that scatter the heat signature, creating multiple false readings across the landscape. They're regrouping, Mac tells his dogs as they navigate a steep ravine that will hide their movement. Demon is committing his reserves. Next phase will be their all-out effort. Reaper and Shadow watch him with calm intensity, their breathing controlled, muscles ready. These animals understand the rhythm of combat operations, the ebb and flow of tactical engagement that most humans never comprehend. Mac checks his cargo one final time, confirming the secure packaging of the military prototypes. Then he studies his tactical display, which shows biker forces converging toward his last known position. Time for the end game, he tells his dogs, setting course for a plateau 5 miles ahead. Let's show Demon why you never corner a disabled Marine and his military working dogs. The night deepens as Mac's truck disappears into terrain selected specifically for the final confrontation, a battlefield of his choosing, where 3 combat veterans with apparent vulnerabilities will face the full might of a biker gang's military assets. Night shrouds the battlefield as Mac positions his truck at the base of a rugged plateau. The location wasn't chosen randomly. It's a perfect tactical position offering multiple evacuation routes while funneling approaching forces through predictable channels. Final preparations. Mac instructs his dogs, who respond with disciplined focus. Reaper and Shadow move efficiently through rehearsed protocols, their muscle memory forged in combat zones half a world away. Through thermal imaging, Mac watches motorcycles converging from multiple directions. Heat signatures reveal tactical teams deploying with military precision, staggered formations, overwatch positions, flanking elements. Demon is committing everything, he observes, noting the methodical approach. 20 operators minimum, tactical gear, professional camera equipment. The gang's radio frequencies fill with controlled communications, position reports, movement coordinates, fire sector assignments. These aren't street thugs, but trained professionals executing a sophisticated operation. Mac activates the final phase of his counter-surveillance system, specialized signal jammers that distort thermal signatures while maintaining his awareness of approaching forces. Then he gives Reaper and Shadow their most important command, Midnight Hunters. The side dogs immediately deploy through specialized ports, disappearing into darkness with ghost-like efficiency. This isn't a frantic animal release, but a precision military operation. The dogs have specific targets, specific routes, specific objectives memorized through countless training repetitions. Demon's voice crackles through monitored communications. All teams converge on target location, maximum security protocols. The dogs are primary threats. Neutralize them first. I want our cameras recording everything when we break this cripple. He's learning. Mac notes with professional appreciation. But too late. From his concealed position, Mac watches Demon's security team establishing a command post on elevated terrain. The gang leader's tactical experience shows in his positioning good visibility, multiple escape routes, protected firing positions. Reaper, Shadow, execute Pattern Sierra, Mac commands through specialized communication gear. The dogs respond instantly, moving like ghosts through the darkness, systematically isolating Demon from his protective detail. The first indication of Reaper's approach comes when the communications specialist at the command post suddenly goes silent, his radio equipment disabled by precisely applied pressure to specific weakness points. Techniques developed specifically for K9 operators in combat environments. Shadow simultaneously neutralizes the perimeter security, targeting the team's flanking elements with textbook precision. The men go down silently, weapons secured, mobility disabled, but without life-threatening injuries. Demon immediately recognizes the pattern of professional military K9 operations. "Countermeasures," he shouts into his radio. "They're using tactical dog deployments. Fall back to defensive positions." "You think these dogs frighten me?" he challenges loudly, switching to clear communication, his voice betraying his military background. "I trained with special forces in Kandahar." Mac emerges from the shadows, deliberately using his cane, his movement emphasizing the disability they had mocked as weakness. "The difference," he responds calmly, "is that my dogs fought with the best." What follows is a masterclass in coordinated K9 tactics. Reaper and Shadow don't just attack. They execute complex containment patterns, cutting off escape routes and forcing Demon's remaining team into predetermined kill zones where they can be neutralized without risking the cargo. Biker operators find themselves systematically isolated, their tactical formations broken by K9 units moving faster than human response times. Professional soldiers accustomed to human opponents have no effective counter to military dogs. Operating with this level of coordination, Demon, finally separated from his men, faces Mac directly. Recognition dawns in his eyes as he studies Mac's stance, his movement patterns, the precision of his tactical positioning despite his physical limitations. "Force Recon," the gang leader identifies. "Afghanistan, Fallujah and Helmand," Mac confirms. "K9 tactical mobility operations." Demon reaches for his weapon, but freezes when both dogs appear simultaneously on his flanks, their military training evident in their perfect positioning. There is no barking, no growling, just the deadly, focused attention of combat veterans who understand their mission parameters. "In Fallujah," Mac says quietly, "we learned that the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the most weapons or the strongest body. It's the one you underestimate. The sound of approaching vehicles fills the air, but these bear state police and federal markings. Trooper Jenkins leads a tactical team into position, securing the captured gang members. And the critical cargo. Your truck triggered our hidden sensors 3 hours ago," Jenkins explains as her team secures the scene. "We've been tracking your movement patterns and preparing the interception." Mac's team confiscates all the gang's cameras and phones. The tools they intended to use to humiliate a disabled veteran now contain evidence of their own defeat. Demon, now in custody, looks at the dogs with new understanding. Those aren't emotional support animals, he realizes too late. They're warriors. "So, is their handler?" Jenkins responds, nodding toward Mac. "Disability doesn't erase what he is." Mac checks his watch. The military prototypes will reach their destination on schedule, preventing sensitive technology from being compromised. His mission, like dozens before it in combat zones around the world, has been successfully completed. "Mission parameters achieved," he tells Reaper and Shadow, in the formal tone that signals operational completion. The dogs relax marginally, transitioning from active combat status to security posture. Still vigilant, but conserving energy now that primary objectives have been secured. The battlefield falls silent as law enforcement officers process the scene, the cargo secure and the threat neutralized. What began as a gang's attempt to humiliate a disabled veteran for social media fame has ended as a comprehensive federal takedown of their entire international technology theft operation. Dawn breaks over the Nebraska landscape as law enforcement agencies process the scene. Tactical teams secure captured gang members, while intelligence specialists document seized equipment and communications devices. Mac stands beside his truck, now bearing the scars of battle, as Reaper and Shadow receive medical checks from a specially dispatched veterinarian with military experience. 3 gang warehouses identified and raided, Trooper Jenkins reports, approaching with her tablet, displaying real-time operation updates. Demon's entire network exposed. The intelligence we gathered will disrupt Steel Wolf's operations across 5 states. Mac nods, watching his dog submit to medical examination with disciplined patience. These aren't pets fidgeting through vet visits, but soldiers understanding the importance of post-mission protocols. The military prototypes? He asks, professional focus still on mission parameters despite the successful outcome. Arriving at the research facility within the hour, Jenkins confirms. Technology secured without compromise. Your mission profile was executed perfectly. Senior officials from multiple agencies converge on the command post, their initial skepticism visibly transformed as they review tactical recordings from the night's operation. The evidence is undeniable. A disabled veteran with 2 military working dogs systematically dismantled a professional biker tactical unit. We need to implement these K9 protocols across our security teams, a federal operations director tells his colleagues, studying footage of Reaper and Shadow's coordinated containment maneuvers. And reconsider our assumptions about disabled veterans. This isn't just about tactical innovation, adds a military liaison, watching Mac navigate the scene with his cane. It's about recognizing that combat effectiveness doesn't end with physical disability. Mac completes his own post-operation checklist with methodical precision. Equipment status, threat assessment, mission documentation. The habits of countless combat operations remain ingrained, regardless of physical limitations. 3 weeks later, Mac's truck rolls along Interstate 80, approaching the same truck stop where the operation began. Reaper and Shadow maintain their watchful positions, their alertness undiminished by recent successes. The landscape has changed. State patrol stations now feature specialized K9 teams, training with protocols adapted from Mac's operation. More importantly, the shipping company has implemented a new veteran hiring initiative, specifically recruiting disabled former military personnel for sensitive transport operations. Trooper Jenkins waves him through a checkpoint with a professional nod of respect. The shipping company's implementing your security recommendations, she informs Mac as he stops briefly. New verification protocols, randomized routing, counter-surveillance measures. And the veteran network? Expanding daily, she confirms. 26 disabled veterans have joined your security information sharing system, 9 with working dogs of their own. Mac's satellite phone displays encrypted updates from the network. Position reports, threat assessments, surveillance detection notifications. What began as informal cooperation has evolved into a sophisticated early warning system spanning multiple states, operated primarily by veterans once considered too damaged for security work. A month after the operation, Mac drives the same. Root Reaper and Shadow alert in their positions. The dog's military training shows in their consistent vigilance. No complacency despite recent victories. No relaxation of professional standards. At a secure rest area, he meets with newly recruited network members. Former Marines, Army Rangers, even a wheelchair-bound Delta operator. Many have brought working dogs with them. Animals with battlefield experience now repurposed for security. Operations. The gangs are adapting their tactics, Mac briefs the group, unfolding detailed maps across his truck's hood. Intelligence indicates they've stopped targeting veterans for harassment videos. They've learned the hard way about underestimating disabled warriors. So we adapt faster, responds a former Army K9 handler with prosthetic legs, her Belgian Malinois sitting attentively beside her. That's what we did in combat zones. The veteran network expands weekly, creating an informal but highly effective security layer across America's highways. Shipping companies quietly seek their services for high-value or sensitive cargo, recognizing the unique capabilities these handler dog teams provide. The social landscape is changing too, Jenkins tells Mac during his stop at a state checkpoint, 6 weeks after the operation. Those veteran harassment videos have disappeared completely. Someone leaked footage of what your dogs did to their camera equipment. Mac watches as Reaper's ears track something beyond human perception, the dog's military training evident in his precise movements. Good, he responds quietly. The military prototypes Mac protected have reached their research destination, advancing critical defense technology without compromise. More importantly, his operation has provided a new model for veteran employment, now being implemented by multiple agencies. Demon's interrogation revealed the full scope of gang plans, a sophisticated psychological warfare operation against veterans combined with technology theft that would have compromised national security. Instead, federal agencies used his captured equipment to enhance their own veteran support systems. As his truck rolls forward, Mac reflects on how his military service prepared him for battles he never expected to fight on American soil. His disability, once seen as weakness by those who didn't understand, has become part of his tactical advantage. Enemies consistently underestimate him, to their eventual regret. The Steel Wolves had mistaken Michael Donovan for a vulnerable, disabled veteran they could humiliate for social media fame. They never understood they were targeting a warrior who had already proven himself in the world's most dangerous battlefields and who had brought his most trusted allies with him. America's highways are safer now for all veterans, as word spreads through both military and criminal networks about what happened to the Steel Wolves. The message is clear. A veteran's value isn't measured by physical perfection, but by the unbreakable bonds forged in combat and the tactical wisdom that never fades.